Okay, I've got to make sure this disclaimer comes in quickly here, because let's face it, if I don't, then you guys will absolutely rip me to shreds in the comment section. It's true, you can probably find a better deal on a gaming PC for under £200. However, this here is a build that everyone can do, and does not rely on local deals which are exclusive to only some people. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So I'll mostly be using both eBay and Amazon for this PC. However, I've limited myself to only using eBay listings which are buy it now, as well as commonly available from multiple sellers at a similar price. Amazon, however, I've just gone ahead and set myself pretty much no limits there. So what exactly is going into this PC? Well, my original plan was to use an Intel Q6600, which is certainly an old system, being based on the LGA 775 chipset. However, due to difficulty finding affordable motherboards which supported 8GB of DDR3, I elected to base this system on a bundle which is commonly available on eBay. This bundle includes an i3-3240, and this is important because it's a hyper-threaded CPU which will help make up for the fact that we lost 2 cores by switching from the Q6600, which is a 4-core CPU. Also included in this bundle is a pretty basic gigabyte motherboard, 4GB of RAM and an Intel stock cooler. Utilising the 1155 socket means that we have a clear upgrade path to both i5 and i7 processors, which, thanks to Intel's recent stagnation in innovation, these processors can still run modern titles relatively well. Overall, this bundle costs a mere £40.98, including shipping. Since our motherboard CPU bundle included 4GB of RAM, I headed over to CEX as it's important that this system isn't limited to 4GB of system RAM, and so for just £6 per stick, I grabbed a 4GB stick of DDR3 RAM to boost our system up to 8GB. Granted, the new stick is only 1066MHz, but it's still a massive upgrade over the otherwise 4GB of system RAM. To make sure that this system feels as snappy as a 2019 system should do, I've gone ahead and grabbed a cheap SSD. It's true that this SSD would never be my first choice, however I definitely wasn't going to build a system without one. So this 120GB SSD from, I can't pronounce the name, will have to do. I currently have this SSD deployed in another system, so for testing purposes I'll just be using this 60GB SSD from Corsair, and it will be practically the same speeds and it really won't affect our FPS testing later on. Now again, this is another do as I say, not as I do moment, so please never do buy second-hand hard drives, especially if you're going to be keeping important information on them, because you never know when they're going to die. However, since this is a gaming machine, I thought, well, Amazon's return policy is going to be good enough, it's probably a good enough safety net for this sort of scenario, and considering we're not really going to be keeping any personal data, it's just going to be games, I felt that it was probably okay for just £15. The case is entirely up to you, as you can often find better local deals. However, I've grabbed this CIT7 for just £30, because in my mind it's a great looking case for the price, and it contains all of our components just fine. The power supply is another, well, let's say not ideal situation. However, I absolutely refused to get anything that wasn't at least bronze rated, and so this GameMax ATX 400W power supply will work for now. If you plan on building this system, I'd recommend upgrading this and the hard drive at the earliest opportunities. But the next bit is where things get interesting, because we still need a GPU, right? Well, as mentioned in a previous video, I've had an RX 470 from AliExpress on the way. It's only £60, but it will allow us to play games at 1080p. So whilst it isn't the most recent and up-to-date GPU, the hope is that it will allow us to play modern titles at 1080p using low to medium settings. Coming to a grand total of £197.47, this PC comes in at just under £200. So how about we get this PC built so we can do some FPS testing? I'm also going to recommend you guys don't do what I'm doing right now, which is only installing a couple of the motherboard screws. You should definitely go ahead and install all of them, but because I'm lazy and don't really want to have to worry about taking it apart later, I'm just going to go ahead and install a couple. Okay, so the question is now, will it turn on with our first attempt? And let's find out. Okay, well, that's not a good start. Did I turn it on? Okay, well, we've got lights this time. That's a good start. You forget. Okay, so we have fans spinning. Now, oh, and there we go. We have a output on the, okay, we have video output from the graphics card. It did interestingly say ZooStorm, which would imply to me that this motherboard came out of a pre-built, which is, well, supposed to be expected. But by the looks of things, we have a working PC. Let's just see how well it works. So since Rocket League is a relatively low demanding game, theoretically we should be able to play this game at 1080p with reasonably high settings. And so as you can see on the screen here, these are the settings we're going to be using today. And as I'm sure if you've seen any of my videos in the past, I am absolutely trash at Rocket League. I have absolutely no idea what I am doing. I can't remember the controls. I remember how to drive it out, and that's more or less it. But that's all I need to be able to do for today's purposes. And as you guys can see, we're getting over 100 FPS quite easily here. And so I think it's safe to say that Rocket League is an easy win for this game. We're going to be able to play Rocket League easily on this £200 PC. And it's kind of to be expected. It's one of those titles that is pretty low demanding. You can run it on just about anything. However, to be gaming at £200, I consider to be reasonably impressive. So Rocket League is a clear victory here, playing at 1080p, high details. And so how about I stop titting about and driving around not knowing how any of the controls work, and we move on to another game that potentially might be more demanding. Okay, so now we're running the Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark, a bit of built-in benchmark that they have built into the game, and so we're going to see what FPS we get in this. Now, at the moment here, it looks like we're going to be running around the 30 frames per second mark, which, whilst isn't fantastic, is a very cinematic experience, and for some people might actually be considered playable. I know, personally, I can just about tolerate 30 frames per second. Now, obviously it's nobody's ideal, but for under £200, 30 frames per second isn't necessarily the end of the world. In comparison to perhaps, say, a built-in APU system that you may get at a similar sort of price point. Okay, I don't know if you guys saw that there just for a second, there was a little bit of stuttering. So the gameplay doesn't appear to be completely, there was another quick stutter there. So it doesn't seem to be completely smooth, though the average frame per second will probably be reasonably okay. I don't think this will necessarily be the most fantastic experience running a game like this on a system like this. However, it does, as you can see, appear to be perfectly possible. Okay, so we've got some pretty interesting results coming in here for our Tomb Raider benchmark. And as we can see, we are, according to this, we are 21% GPU bound, which is essentially telling us that essentially the bottleneck in this system is going to be our CPU, at least for this game anyway. And so what we really should be doing if we were to make an upgrade to this system was focusing on the CPU. Now, as I said previously, the hard drive and the power supply would definitely be my first priorities, but when you start making actual upgrades that will affect your FPS, I'd probably imagine the CPU would be the best way forwards, at least for now. Okay guys, so here we are in Minecraft, and I happen to have spawned on this tiny crappy little island, and as you can see, yeah, the game runs, but okay, yeah, so I haven't played Minecraft in a while, and the new mobs I kind of forgot existed, so I'm going to try and run away from whatever that thing is. But the point I was trying to get to here is that Minecraft runs reasonably well in this game. You know, I'm currently running with a render distance of 12 chunks. I'm not using fancy graphics, I'm using just fast graphics, and unfortunately we are seeing another CPU bottleneck here, where unfortunately it's fine all the time, it doesn't have to render new chunks, but as soon as the game has to render new chunks, we see our frame rate drop down below 30. Now, if I was to just stand still on this island, we'd see our frame rate, as you can see up in this corner up here, it does start to go back up. And then as soon as I sort of run over here and I start rendering new chunks in, you can see our FPS takes a drastic dip. And so, yes, this game, Minecraft, is playable on this system. You know, I'm quite comfortable, quite happy to sit and play this game like this because it's not exactly a first-person shooter. It doesn't require high FPS like games like Call of Duty or PUBG or Fortnite, anything like that. It doesn't require high FPS sort of quick reactions. Minecraft, sort of, see here we're getting about between 30 and 50 FPS, and you know what? That's probably good enough for me. Okay, and so since I've just realised that I stupidly recorded my outro alongside my 3D Mark Time Spy, I have also lost the audio from my outro. And so I'm quickly joining you on my phone just to say thank you guys very much for watching this video, and if you did like it then please do be sure to hit the like button, and then if you do have any feedback or comments then do leave that in the comment section down below. So without further ado, no, that's what goes at the beginning. That goes at the beginning, Robert. It's been a long day, but honestly guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.